Focus on the issue of youth unemployment and what various corporates through their foundation arms are doing to try and alleviate that and better capacitate the youth of a country. So the executive director at Mr. Price Foundation, Octavius Phukubye, says South Africa's economic recovery depends on unlocking the productivity of its youth, and that this could be done by preparing young people to meaningfully participate in the economy of the future as industries evolve and automation becomes the order of the day. Phukubye says the Mr. Price Foundation has achieved measurable impact by offering training and jobs to 70% of unemployed youth. And they've done this, he says, through the JumpStart program and also supported young entrepreneurs in their quest. For more on this, the man himself joins us in person, in studio. Here's Octavius Phukubye, Executive Director at Mr. Price. Good to have you with us. Welcome.
Thank you so much, Thami, and good afternoon and evening to all your listeners everywhere they are.
So let's talk about Mr. Price Foundation. What exactly do you do as the foundation? What do you focus on?
The foundation is 20 years old. We focus primarily right now going forward. We've got a new strategy to really focus on youth empowerment. Youth empowerment through 3 levers: skills development, entrepreneurship, and education. And we've had some excellent results in the past 20 years of the work that we've done. 100% of our focus areas now is really obsessing around how do we champion youth empowerment, and that's what we do in all the things that we do: skills development, entrepreneurship, and education.
Now, you primarily as a business are in the retail sector.
Yeah, 100%.
So does it mean, by consequence, that you support skills development, entrepreneurship, and education within the retail sector, or are you sector agnostic? Yeah,
we're actually very sector agnostic. We're also very privileged in the sense that while the Mr. Price Group is the founder and the core investor and supporter of the work that we do, we're actually a public benefit organization, and even in the way we operate and how we discharge our responsibilities and run our programs is because the support we get is also from other organizations, right? So we're compelled by the investors and the supporters and the donations and that we receive, which also include the customers, by the way. So we can't only just focus on retail. Of course, it's our play, it's our power play, whether skills development or entrepreneurship, as it were, but we're operating agnostically across the board. So we're fine. We're confident that in the areas that we do, we have no limitation that it must be restrictively and exclusively with the group.
Within the group, because the truth is, everything is interconnected,
right?
And there's a value chain,
100%.
Even to the retail business.
Exactly.
So it might not necessarily be within your particular sector,
right,
but somewhere it will be a tributary that feeds into what you already do. But let's get back to the issue of youth unemployment in the country. It still remains unacceptably high. And South Africa has one of the highest youth unemployment rates in the world. What do you believe contributes to that?
A number of things contribute to that. One, generally speaking, you've got the economy that's not growing at the right level, at the right pace, to be able to create opportunities to absorb as many young people. That's one. Two, other things that cause this high levels of unemployment is that we haven't seen enough investment, productive investment, in really creating material opportunities for young people, whether it is investment in infrastructure, investments in small businesses, investments in new skills that we need to require. But thirdly, the other thing that contributes to this, we argue, based on the work we've done in skills development and other spaces, is the rate of policy, evolution has also contributed. For example, let me practicalize this thing. In South African context, you run a skills development program, and we've got major opportunities to do that and run the skills development programs that are responding to the industry need. But the pace at which the industry is moving is not matched by the regulation that governs the skills development. Similarly, if we invest in universities, TVET colleges, etc., the evolution and the speed with which industries are moving, the skill acquisition and the knowledge base are not moving at the same pace. So by the time the industry is at this point, we've got a cohort of young people who have acquired skills that have not matched the space on the pace of the industry. So a number of things contribute to that. But of course, there are, in our context and many other countries on the continent, You've got other socioeconomic factors that contribute to that, exclusion, vulnerability. A lot of communities have been, excluded from a lot of opportunities, access to information, right type of information, underfunding, also across the board in various sectors, whether it's education, whether it's health. Those things contribute, by the way. I mean, I grew up in Limpopo. Many of us know, you grow up and it's really by just a chance that you get an opportunity, you break through. And if you were given the right amount of support and equal opportunity, you probably would have succeeded.
Because foundation is actually everything.
100%.
Foundation is everything. You touched 100%. On this a little bit, and I want to pick up on it, about the mismatch and the lack of congruency in development. When you look at legislation and you look at what the market actually needs and development therein. You mentioned earlier on that I was talking about the future of work before you came in.
Yeah.
And I was just telling everybody that I'm looking forward to our conversation because it is also about capacitating young people to be able to fulfill not just jobs for here right now, but the jobs of tomorrow.
100%.
How do you throw forward? How do you, cast your eye into the future of what work will look like? And I do beg to say, I think young people are probably so much further ahead than what we think, because in many ways they are the ones that are creating the future of what work is going to be like, especially with the evolution of technology.
They are taking the initiative.
That's right.
But I want to also argue that, just as much as young people are taking initiative with the very little resources that they have at their disposal, we should never therefore make it an expectation, because the onus and the responsibility is just too heavy. And then it absolves all the other different stakeholders that must play an equal role to simplify and create railways or paths for young people to easily take charge of their lives, right? One of the things that we've seen based on our work and what we think the industry across the continent is, for example, if we ran everything else based on demand. So people argue and say, no, there's a mismatch. Okay, fine. Right, let's maybe continue with this logic of mismatch in the industries. So, right, let's go and speak with the industry. Industry, what skills do you want? Thami, you are the CEO of this business, etc., etc. You are an influential player in this market, in this sector. What skills do you want? And you say, right, Octavius, I need the following skills, right, between now and the next 4 years, 5 years, and 10 years. And then I bring it back, that demand, and I introduce or I run investments in education, in training, so to fit and meet your demand. So that when I come back to you and say, Thami, I asked you 12 months ago, what skills do you want? You told me these are the skills that you want, and this is how much of the skills you require. And I went and invested based on that. So you can't come now and turn around. So that dichotomy that exists in the market, this is what, in how we run our investments, that they must be demand driven.
That's right.
Before we say, okay, let's run an SME development program and empower young people to start business. Okay, based on what?
Based on what? There's got to be some intelligence. That informs that decision.
Exactly.
But I want to talk now about your objective as the Mr. Price Foundation. You recently announced that you want to empower 500,000 young people by the year, 2035?
Yeah.
How do you plan to do that?
Geez, it's a very ambitious goal. We plan to do it in different ways. So one, we want to make sure that the type of programs that we run are very resilient and are very demand driven across the board. We've got a portfolio of many programs. So we believe every program that we want to design and launch, and those that we run and want to scale, is it based on demand? What's this demand that's informing the need to invest R1 or $1, 1 kwacha? Right. 2 is when we've got the sort of approach around our programs, we're able to then, one, we receive funding from the Mr. Price Group. From the group, we receive funding from other players, the likes of Valterra Platinum, APSA, CHAP, SPA Group. So we are going to empower 500,000 young people through partnerships, in how we believe the use of philanthropic capital can catalyze the sort of change that we want. But we can't do that remotely and far away from different ecosystems. So we've got to stay close. And the way we've envisaged partnerships, we don't envisage partnerships in linear form. Is that the partnerships can be linear. For example, we've partnered with Valterra Platinum, ex Anglo Platinum. It's in mining, we're in retail. You ask yourself, how do you guys come to work together. It's because we say in the mining communities, everywhere you go, the characteristics of those local economies is that retail will exist. And how do we work with yourselves? So we are going to achieve that through the partnerships, through scaling the sort of programs that we have, getting a sort of funding, I suppose, investments from different players. But we also believe that part of how we're going to go there is to drive two things. One is the industry, the big sector or the big business can only create jobs to an extent. Young people are not hegemonic. We've got to also create other platforms for other types of young people. And another area for us is let's help and empower and partner with the young people who want to start their own businesses. Because on one end, you can directly influence how many jobs you want to create as a business, as Mr. Price Group, as Spa Group, etc. But there are other young people who actually have got brighter ideas, have built businesses that are sustainable and can contribute in our ability towards that. And that's how we do it.
And what type of relationship do you have with the seaters, in the sense that a lot of the seaters are obviously focused more in skills development, and you talk about the youth not being just one group. Do you focus on skills development as well, in the same way that the seaters would? Are you? It's because you're targeting the same market.
No, we are,
because it's young people,
100%,
and it's mostly young people from disadvantaged backgrounds. Do you also play in that field,
Yeah,
whether it's cat seater or in seater or whichever of the seaters?
We have a very good relationship with WR Seater. Our relationship with WR Seater is really on a number of ways. One, we know that retail and clothing sector is an important sector. We try and drive the information and the knowledge towards enabling young people to see and understand that opportunities in that value chain are not just at a storefront, at a store level. That you need machinists. Right now we need machinists. We need pattern makers. You and I are wearing garments. There are people who must make those things. That's the skill we need in the production of the things that we require in the retail outlets. So that's how we partner with them to really drive that message. Another way that we also drive and we're forging these relationships with them is how do we start building micro credentials for young people that have, for example, if only a matric, which was what we target, we just have to have a matric, but we know that they're ambitious, they want to learn further. How do we build micro credentials platforms to enable them? So we work with WR Seater as well in there, most of which is really at the inception level stage. I must be honest, but we also take lessons from some of the presentations or innovations that are coming from the different programs that WR Seater works and incorporate them into the work. And then lastly, we all respond to the skills plan of the sector in the same way. So we see our programs also running parallel to that, to augment what WR Seater does at a commercial level with the corporate companies. We add additional programs around how we do not necessarily require young people to have a qualification per se. And we enable those kind of grads.
So do you work directly with the young people, or are you working with other NGOs that will connect you to your target market?
Our operating model is very different. We are more of a practitioner, so we work directly with young people. Unlike other foundations, so we ensure that we directly engage the young people, whether entrepreneurs, whether those that are looking for skills or jobs in the retail and clothing sector, and agriculture. We also play in the agricultural space. Education was something that we're doing very differently in education, where we're looking for young people who are future leaders of education or managers of education and want to empower them to run ECDs and learning hubs so they can support part of what we're investing in the ecosystem of education. So we work along those different ways.
So very much on the ground. And before I let you go, I'd like to flip our conversation and to talk about the tax benefits of philanthropy. What do businesses benefit from the tax side?
Well, I mean, there's a lot of incentives that are available, and I think it's a one way to really encourage commitment and investment. So, for example, on the skills development side, you've got your ETIs that are available to corporates, and it's not limited to Mr. Price, but an important way for the government to say, if you play a role, we also will play a role. From a donation side or donor side, you also get a Section 188A certificate to really get a rebate on contributing to the work that we do, and we receive donations. Customers donate to us, and there's a benefit for it. You get a rebate. But over and above that, I mean, really, Thami, that even incentive, it doesn't go as much as the number and just the total investment that goes into running this kind of programs.
Yeah. Well, look, wish you all the best.
Thank you.
2035 is literally just around the corner.
I don't know pressure.
And 500,000 people.
No
It's
pressure.
not a small number.
It's not.
But I see you are growing your beard, so you've got a good 10 more years. By the time it reaches here, you'd have probably gotten all the young people.
Hopefully not great, Thami. But we'll come back and report.
We'll talk in 10 years' time.
Yes, not 10 years' time. 2-3 years we must come and report how we're progressing.
All right, well, we'll note that. Thank you so much, Octavius. Thank you for coming through. It's been a pleasure.
All right.
That's the Executive Director at Mr. Price Foundation, Mr. Octavius Phukubye, taking us to exactly 4:53.
We are on Open